Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank Chairman Scott and Ranking Member Warren for holding this hearing, and thank you to our witnesses today, Mr. McCauley, Mr. Gannon, Mr. Ring, Mr. Klein, for being here as well to talk about this important topic. What we saw over the last few years, the Biden administration weaponized government at all different levels to be able to push its liberal agenda on the rest of the country. We saw it from things like having the EPA push EV mandates, Homeland Security ignored illegal immigration. We saw a number of different agencies do things. The FBI, for example, even identified Catholics as extremists and sought to put spies into the Catholic Church. All of this undermines people's faith and belief in our system of government. And what we're talking about here now, where we have regulators that are pushing their agenda, does the exact same thing. It undermines the rule of law in our country if regulators start pushing an agenda of what they want to see, what kind of businesses you do business with, versus what you're allowed to do, versus just saying, making sure we have a safe banking system that is complying with our rules and regulations. A legal business should not lose access to the banking system just because they deal in firearms or crypto or something like that, because a regulator doesn't like that. That's just simply wrong. But that's what we've seen, of course, out of the last two administrations. It was mentioned earlier about choke point 1.0 under the Obama administration, and firearms deals, for example, that were disfavored, were prejudiced against and tried to force out of the financial system. And I think it was you, Mr. Ring, just said that if you're out of the financial system, you cease to exist as a business. And then, of course, now more recently under the Biden administration, it's been the crypto industry. And I got to tell you, this is an issue that's near and dear to my heart. I came from the financial services industry. We have the most transparent, liquid capital markets in the world because of proper regulation. Regulation actually got us to the point where we have these great capital markets. And it's at risk when we have regulators that are undermining the faith in that. We've got to make sure that we do not weaponize our regulators to push an agenda. Mr. Gannon, during Operation Choke Point 1.2 and 2, or 1.0 and 2.0, did regulators exceed their statutory authority by focusing on vague metrics and reputational risk instead of safety and soundness?
Senator, the way I'd answer that is to say that the effect of Operation Choke Point 1.0 and 2.0 is that many small, perfectly legal businesses are no longer in operation. The people that ran those businesses lost their jobs, lost their bank accounts, not sure what they're doing today, but that was a backdoor way to make those businesses illegal. And getting to the point that I made earlier, if the regulators wanted those businesses to be illegal, they had to come to you and ask, and they didn't. Instead, they just executed their own agenda without the approval from Congress. And that's what I mean by a distortion of the relationship between regulators and Congress. Their power comes from you. It does not fall from the sky.
So did bank regulators evade the notice and comment rulemaking requirements of the Administrative Procedures Act by imposing requirements through informal guidance documents in both choke point operations?
Yes, they did, Senator.
And why do you think they were doing that?
Because notice and comment, and by the way, the Congressional Review Act, has the effect of shining a light on the activities that are afoot. You have to give notice. You have to take into account the comments critically. You have to do, if you're going to pass a rule under the Administrative Procedure Act, you have to do a valid cost-benefit analysis, and those sometimes can be difficult. Economists should run those. It's just simply hard. And oh, by the way, rules that never got approved through the Congressional Review Act process have never taken effect.
So in fact, to your point earlier, by issuing informal guidance, they were purposely trying not to come to Congress or not to raise the attention of the public of what they were trying to do. Is that a fair statement?
I can't get into their head, Senator, but that's the effect, for sure.
Mr. Ring, your bank was one of many that was issued a consent order by the FDIC in recent years. Is that correct?
Yes.
Would you describe your relationship with your regulator to have been collaborative or more combative?
I think it has gotten better recently. In fact, a great regulator at the FDIC. Joe Mead, who spent 30 years there, recently left, retired, invested in our bank, and he's now on the board. And I think that has helped. But they definitely do not make it easy to be a new and growing bank.
Right. Well, I see my time's up, Mr. Chairman, but I do want to just wrap up by saying, again, my experience in the financial services field was that when you had regulators that had a relationship with the regulated community, that actually helped them do their job to find the bad actors. And we all have an interest in getting rid of the bad actors that are in our industries. And that when you take an approach where you weaponize government, it's actually bad for the regulatory scheme in general, because players, companies who are good, that are trying to stay in business and actually follow the rules, are discouraged because the regulators are acting in a political manner. So thank you for indulging me there.